Radha Madhava Jaya Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopijanna Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jai Jai Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Jai Jai Shri Radha Damodar Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo Namo Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa. Jai Om Vishnu Pada. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Devamrita Swamrita Namane Pachaya Purvaraksham Cha Bhakta Charma Vinata Paratita Karunyam Yasya Savage Tenamaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 7th canto, the chapter is, oh my god, where are we? Chapter 5, I think text 25, 24?
23 and 24.
23 and 24. Thank you, Tarika Prabhu. This is a long one. I've been asked to read the verse and the first part of the purport, and I believe that subsequent Bhagavatam classes will go through each of the 9 processes of devotional service. I think most devotees know this famous verse. If you don't, today's the day. You should know the 9 processes of devotional service. But been denied access to actually talking about Shravanam Kirtanam. So we'll do the first part of Srila Prabhupada's purport after reading the verse. Shri Paradu Uvacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishno Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pumksarpita Vishnau Bhaktishchenava Lakshana Kriyeta Bhagavatyada Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Punksharpita Vishnu Bhaktishchennavalakshana Kriyeta Bhagavatyada Tanmanye Ditham Uttamam Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Punksharpita Vishnu Bhaktishchennavalakshana Kriyeta Bhagavatyadha Tanmanye Dhitam Uttamam. Would some other devotees like to chant? Please.
Shri Bharadada Uvacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Parasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pumsharpita Vishnu Bhaktish Chennavalakshana Greta Bhagavat Yadha Tanmanye Dittam Uttamam.
Sriparadavacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pungsharpita Vishnu Bhaktishchenna Valakshana Kriyeta Bhagavatyada Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam.
Thank you, dear devotees. For our newer devotees in the room, I highly recommend learning this first part of the verse. Srila Prabhupada reference it often, quoting it. It's some of our essential Sanskrit vocabulary. We should know what Shravana means. We know what Kirtan means, of course, which means to glorify. Actually, it's the same root word as Yasha, like in the name Yashadeva, the brother of Yashoda in Vrindavan. So we should know, what does Shravana mean? To hear. Kirtana means to chant or to glorify. Smarna means to remember. Of course, we're going to go through the word for word in a second. But this first part of the verse was quoted often by Srila Prabhupada. So I recommend the devotees should know it, at least in English. What are the 9 processes? But it'd be good to know some of this essential Sanskrit vocabulary as well. It's my humble request. Now let's officially read the word for word translation. It says, Sri Praradu Vacha, Prahlad Maharaj said, Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, chanting, Vishnu, of Lord Vishnu. And Prabhupada added, not anyone else. Smaranam, remembering, Padasevanam, serving the feet, Archanam, offering worship with Shadoshapachara, the 16 kinds of paraphernalia. Vandanam, offering prayers. Dasyam, becoming the servant. Sakyam, becoming the best friend. Atma Nivedanam, surrendering everything, whatever one has. Those are the 9 processes of devotional service. And then Prahlad Maharaj continues saying, Iti, thus, Punksha Arpita, offered by the devotee, Vishnu, unto Lord Vishnu, not to anyone else. Bhaktihi, devotional service. Chet, if, Navalakshana, possessing 9 different processes. Kriyeta, one should perform. Bhagavati, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Adha, directly or completely. Tat, that. Manye, I consider. Aditam, learning. Uttamam, topmost. Translation and purport. Part of the purport. By His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming His servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto Him. In other words, serving Him with the body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. Report. When Prahlad Maharaj was asked by his father to say something from whatever he had learned, he considered that what he had learned from his spiritual master was the best of all teachings, whereas what he had learned about diplomacy from his material teachers, Chanda and Amarka, was useless. Bhakti pareshanubhavo viraktir anyatra cha. This is the symptom of pure devotional service. A pure devotee is interested only in devotional service, not in material affairs. To execute devotional service, one should always engage in hearing and chanting about Krishna or Lord Vishnu. The process of temple worship is called archana. How to perform archana will be explained herein. One should have complete faith in the words of Krishna, who says that he is the great well-wishing friend of everyone. Suhridam sarvabhutanam. A devotee considers Krishna the only friend. This is called sakyam. Pumksharpita Vishnu. The word pumksa means by all living entities. There are no distinctions permitting only a man or only a brahmana to offer devotional service to the Lord. Everyone can do so. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Striyo Vaishyas tata Shudras te piyanti param gatim. Although women, Vaishyas, and Shudras are considered less intelligent, they also can become devotees and return home back to Godhead. After performing sacrifices, sometimes a person engaged in fruitive activity customarily offers the results to Vishnu. But here it is said, Bhagavatyadha. One must directly offer everything to Vishnu. This is called sannyasa, not merely nyasa. A tridandi sannyasi carries 3 dandas, signifying kayo mano vakya, body, mind, and words. All of these should be offered to Vishnu, and then one can begin devotional service. Fruitive workers first perform some pious activities, and then formally or officially offer the results to Vishnu. The real devotee, however, first offers his surrender to Krishna with his body, mind, and words, and then uses his body, mind, and words for the service of Krishna as Krishna desires. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following explanation in his Tatya. The word Shravana refers to giving oral reception to the holy name and descriptions of the Lord's form, qualities, entourage, and pastimes as explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar authorized scriptures. After orally receiving such messages, one should memorize these vibrations and repeat them. Kirtanam. Smaranam means trying to understand more and more about the Supreme Lord, and Padasevanam means engaging oneself in serving the lotus feet of the Lord according to the time and circumstances. Archanam means worshipping Lord Vishnu as one does in the temple, and Vandanam means offering respectful obeisances. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Vandanam means namaskuru, offering obeisances or offering prayers. Thinking oneself to be Nitya Krishna Dasa, everlastingly a servant of Krishna, is called Dasyam. And Sakyam means being a well-wisher of Krishna. Krishna wants everyone to surrender unto him because everyone is constitutionally his servant. Therefore, as a sincere friend of Krishna, one should preach this philosophy, requesting everyone to surrender unto Krishna. Atma Nivedanam means offering Krishna everything, including one's body, mind, intelligence, and whatever one may possess. Yeah, I'm supposed to keep going here. One's sincere endeavor to perform these 9 processes of devotional service is technically called bhakti. The word adha means directly. One should not be like the karmis who perform pious activities and then formally offer the results to Krishna. That is karmakanda. One should not aspire for the results of his pious activities, but should dedicate oneself fully and then act piously. In other words, one should act for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu, not for the satisfaction of his own senses. That is the meaning of the word adha directly. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. One should simply satisfy Krishna without being influenced by fruitive knowledge or fruitive activity. The Gopala Tapani Upanishad says that the word bhakti means engagement in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not of anyone else. This Upanishad describes that bhakti is the offering of devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To perform devotional service, one should be relieved of the bodily conception of life. Prabhupada says we should be relieved of the bodily concept of life and aspirations to be happy through elevation to the higher planetary systems. In other words, work performed simply for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord without any desire for material benefits is called bhakti. Bhakti is also called nishkarma, or freedom from the results of fruitive activity. Bhakti and nishkarma are on the same platform, although devotional service and fruitive activity appear almost the same. Wow, there's a lot to talk about in these paragraphs. Okay, one more paragraph, and then I'll finish, and then devotees will continue on the section of Shravanam tomorrow. So Prabhupada says the 9 different processes enunciated by Prahlada Maharaj, who learned them from Narada Muni, may not all be required for the execution of devotional service. If a devotee performs only one of these 9 without deviation, he can attain the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes it is found that when one performs one of the processes, other processes are mixed with it. That is not improper for a devotee. When a devotee executes any of the 9 processes, navalakshana, this is sufficient. The other 8 processes are included. Now, let us discuss these 9 different processes. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Gotta get a little Vandanam in before Bhagavatam class. Vandanam means to offer prayers. There's so many wonderful prayers already laden with devotion, saturated with devotion, and already accepted by the Lord. And so we should learn some and offer prayers. This is one of the 9 devotional processes. We should learn a few prayers. What is it that Queen Kunti says about Krishna? We should just learn that. We should recite it. Go before Sri Sri Radha Damodar. Recite those same prayers, knowing that Krishna is already very pleased with these ones. What is it that Prahlad says about the Lord? Or Arjuna? What is it that the residents in Vrindavan say about Krishna? In this way, we can emulate the devotion of the pure devotees, and it'll become our natural aspiration as well. Of course, if we never hear what is it that the great devotees are saying about the Lord, if we never hear how they're praying, then how could we possibly know what is the potential of bhakti? If we never hear about it, what could we ever learn? What could we possibly know? Or are we thinking that, as is common in America with our individualism and our independence, that God realization will just automatically manifest in my heart in my own unique way because I'm special? This is the philosophy of the Americans and the Western world, and it has detrimental effect. As many know, the statistics come out that young people are less and less participating in all sorts of religious activities around the world. Some see this as a sign of some sort of decline of God consciousness and religion, but I see it as a simple decline in education. In contrast, Prahlad Maharaj, as we're hearing about in this verse, learned from his spiritual master about Krishna consciousness, about philosophy, about theology, and about devotion. Someone who learns in school will naturally have the inclination to inquire about what is the absolute truth, what is the nature of God, how can God be best understood, and how can God be best served with love. Our modern education has decided that this is not profitable, and so therefore has more or less cut it out. And so it shouldn't be surprising that statistics show that amongst young people, especially Gen Z, there's just less and less participation in spiritual religious activities. They're simply never educated in it. How many people are having philosophy and theology classes in high school? I would imagine almost none. I certainly didn't when I was in high school. At best, we had one psychology class. That was about as esoteric as it got. Otherwise, it's just STEM, STEM, STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That's what's profitable. That's what produces the GDP. That's the goal of life. And so that's all that young people are educated in. And so it's not surprising that they never inquire, what is my life about? What is the nature of God? How can that be understood? How can God be served with love and devotion? It should be a natural part of any curriculum. It's just very, very uncommon in secular public education. So Prahlad Maharaj's example is very important. Prabhupada referenced this example in his introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam, that everybody, even young people, should learn the profound philosophy and theology of Srimad Bhagavatam. If the 5-year-old Prahlad Maharaj can do it, what to speak of us who are old and graying already? I've actually got a couple of gray ones coming in, so I qualify. Anyone can do it, as Srila Prabhupada says in this purport here. Anyone and everyone can learn and apply the 9 processes of devotional service. Have some realization of the non-material self, some realization of the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and some inspiration to serve the Lord with love and devotion. It's as simple as that. It starts with Shravanam, hearing. Naturally, whatever you're going to hear, it's going to become your state of consciousness and become your interest. The way education works these days sort of induces an interest in productivity. And I'm sorry if this touches a sore point in some people. I know for me, it was a very sore point. I was always, as a young man, always protesting against this sort of state-mandated education that I was given from as young as I can remember. I just always push back. Who decides what my curriculum is and why? Even if in grade school, I remember inquiring in this way. Why is this my particular curriculum? Who decided this for me? Why do I have to learn this and not something else? Now in my adulthood, I can see that there is a very clear intention amongst whatever departments or school boards that pick our curriculum. There is a clear intention. Education is for productivity. You should hear only about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics so that we can produce more stuff, beat the Russians, and dominate the world. That Cold War mentality just continues today. Produce. That's what young people are trained to do. That's the only reason for education. In some places, it's said explicitly, like in New Zealand. Our spiritual master, many of us are spiritual masters, Holiness Devamrita Swami, met with one of the former prime ministers of New Zealand, and he went into their offices, and the minister was saying very explicitly that education in New Zealand is meant for producing productive citizens. That's the whole point. So if they're always hearing, if young people are always hearing how to produce, how to make something new, how to develop some value for your capitalist overlord, then naturally that's going to be their inclination and their aspiration. Or if they hear Shravanam about how to inquire, what is the nature of the self? What is the utmost happiness? What is the science of God? If that were the subject matter in school, then naturally that would be their inclination to ask and to pursue and to learn. So Prahlad Maharaj's example is very important, very profound. If someone at the earliest age is begins to hear Shravanam, those sort of questions, and to hear that philosophy and theology, then that will become their natural inclination. I see it all the time with my own children because, of course, I've tried to inspire them with that sort of inquisitiveness. And the local kids in the neighborhood, as I was mentioning before, all the kids, they like to party at my house. They make a whole mess. But I overhear them talking. Literally 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old kids, always talking about God, talking about Krishna, talking about the absolute truth. It's very natural for them. It's very natural, actually. Just give them a little bit of that opportunity to hear, and then they will inquire. They will always speak about it. They will pursue that. Our modern secular education explicitly does the opposite. And that's why Prabhupada would often call it demoniac, actually. There is some value, of course, and I don't want to get on anybody's case who has been through public education, myself included, or who put their children in public education. There's certainly a lot of value. But utmost value comes from inquiring about the absolute truth, the nature of God, how to serve God with love and devotion. And it's simply a matter of education, Shravanam. It's really that easy. And it's a shame that many of our societies have engineered a spiritual blackout. As the great Dr. Cornel West has said, an engineered spiritual blackout. That's what's happening in modern human society, at least in America. So Prabhupada's first line in this purport, I think, is very important. When Prahlad Maharaj was asked by his father to say something from whatever he had learned, he considered. So we should also consider. We're all adults. We're free will. We can consider that what we've learned from our spiritual masters best, whereas what we learn about diplomacy from material teachers is useless. We should consider what is most valuable. Bhakti Pareshana Bhavo Virakti Ranyatracha. Prabhupada's quoting this great verse from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. That the best knowledge gives direct perception of the Lord, Pareshanubhava, detachment from everything else, Viraktir, Anyatra, and awakens devotion, natural, spontaneous devotion, which is self-evident spiritual realization. So we should consider We should, put all the knowledge, all the information that's out there, put them on the scale and consider what is most valuable. That's real education, rather than just assume that, well, I was told to just produce. So I guess that's the point of my life. You know how many schools have completely cut out humanities? There's still some at Penn State. I guess Parameshri has participated in some humanities courses, but a lot of schools are just cutting it out. What's the point of learning literature, philosophy? What's the point of doing psychology? It's not useful. We don't need psychology, we just need psychiatry, right? I'm sure you've heard some of this trend, Parameshri, and others who have been through school. Why even do it? A lot of universities are just completely cutting out humanities. There's no need for it. There is only STEM because that's what's productive. High schools, I think they're still doing some. Of course, we had that nice program we did at the State College High recently, but it was an elective class about various world religions, and we were invited to come. We did a nice kirtan, and myself and Anandini Lalita and Dina Palika, we had a nice little program there. It was really fun, but it's an elective class. It's not like the students had to do it. It's just something they can do for fun if they want. So, real human society considers what is the best of all knowledge. And for that, they need to hear it. If they never hear it, how will they inquire? If they never get a Bhagavad Gita from a devotee on the street, how will they inquire about what is the best way to understand God? How will they know if they don't hear it? Practically every devotee will recognize that the philosophy, the theology, and the devotion of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita is unsurpassed. None of us are considering, well, maybe there's something better somewhere else. I mean, it's really very good, right? We recognize it. That of all the types of devotion and religious tradition, this is really comprehensive and amazing. But if we don't put in the effort to make it available to someone, how will anyone know? What they're taught is the exact opposite. Don't ask these sort of questions. It'll slow down productivity. Just make something new, design something new, quick, so that the 5 or 6 people who own everything can make a little more money. That's the goal of life. We got to serve those 5 or 6 people who own everything. They're not taught to inquire. And so it shouldn't be surprising that, especially amongst young people, statistics show much less spiritual and religious engagement. That doesn't mean that they don't have the inclination. If you go out on book distribution, you'll see many people, they have the inclination. They want to know something, but they just don't even know how to ask. They don't even know where to start. Never been taught. So, a lot to be learned here from Prahlad Maharaj about how society should be organized. Of course, it might be a little late for that, but we should see this should really illustrate how important it is to do a Sankirtana, to make available Srila Prabhupada's books, which naturally inspire a strong sense of inquisitiveness. I mean, Prabhupada really, really cuts to the core of a lot of issues. It's not wishy-washy New Age sentimentalism, nor is it sort of vague, spiritual, some nebulous thing, nor is it just some dogmatic belief system. Prabhupada is expert in inspiring inquiry, in challenging thought processes so that one naturally inquires about what is the absolute truth. It's very expertise. And so if we make that available to people, they will also inquire. They will also be inspired. And so that effort is very, very important. And it's demonstrated in Prahlad. We glorify Prahlad as such a great devotee because he was inspired at such a young age. In fact, at the youngest age, he was still in the womb. Most of us, we had to wait till like, I don't know, 20 years old to kind of get our brain on straight. But Prahlad, he got it from the womb. They say that biologically, your brain doesn't, what is it? Your brain doesn't fully develop till you're like 20, 25. I think for me, it was about 35. Only in the last few years, I finally kind of clicked on. But Prahlad, he started in the womb. So it wasn't just some miracle. You know, Prahlad's not different from us. He's a jiva, but he had the good fortune of hearing the spiritual science from Narada Muni. You know, he's not in like some different category of being. He's the good fortune of hearing from Narada Muni and really taking that seriously. We have the good fortune of hearing from Srila Prabhupada and really taking that seriously. Anyone in this world has the good fortune of hearing from someone who has such devotion that they will naturally inquire about the absolute truth and come to know God and the best way to serve with love and devotion. So we must make that available, just like it was available to Prahlad Maharaj. That education is so important. So, Shravanam, hearing. And then naturally, we are in that category of having heard something. We might have understood a little bit from Srila Prabhupada. Naturally, you want to tell others. So, Kirtanam, Shravanam, Kirtanam. That's how it works. When the cup spilleth over, to use the biblical language, when the heart is just so full of satisfaction from hearing about Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes, you just can't help but tell some others about it. You just can't help it. You got to do it. That's kirtanam. That's sankirtanam. I just got to share this with somebody else. Everyone should hear about this. Everyone should get a chance to learn some of this. And put that out there. It's very natural. It shouldn't be some forced thing. You know, we're not trying to create some sort of, what is it? Crusade. But naturally, if someone has some love of Krishna in their heart, then naturally they should want to share it, kirtanam, to glorify Krishna. That's what that means. As I was saying, kirta, a kirti means glorification or praise, just like yasha, which is interesting because the mother of Srimati Radharani, Kirtida, has the same meaning in her name as the mother of Krishna, Yashoda. Da means one who gives. Yashoda gives fame or glory, glorification to Krishna. And Kirtida also means to give fame or glorification. So Kirti means to glorify. Of course, we can glorify by chanting the holy names. That's the simplest and most profound way to glorify. But can also mean to speak about Krishna, to inspire others to chant Hare Krishna. Or when someone says, gee, you seem kind of different. Why is that? And you say, it's because of my Lord Krishna. That's kirtan. To produce books, to print the books, to distribute the books. Now you can have kirtan, Instagram kirtan. Lots of devotees, they're making so much content, Krishna conscious content. That's a form of kirtan as well. Anyway, where we feel inspired to glorify the Lord and the devotees is kirtan. So by hearing, if we are hearing so much, if we are hearing with an open heart, with appreciation, with faith, then naturally the heart becomes so full that it just must spill out onto somebody else. You got to try this. You got to chant Hare Krishna. It's just so nice. It's so good. You got to read Srimad Bhagavatam. It's just fantastic. That's kirtan. That's all there is to it. These are the processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Smaranam means to remember, to always think about Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. You know, when you're sitting in the shower, instead of just worrying about all the stuff I got to do today, all that stuff, it's not going to change whether you worry about it or not. So let's remember Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. There are so many opportunities, like when we go through the Vaishnav calendar, there's always some impetus to remember a particular devotee or some particular pastime. We have so many holidays for remembering. By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam class, we can remember pastimes of the Lord, like Lord Nrsingadev coming to save Prahlad Maharaj from Hiranyakashipu. And then when Bhagavatam class is over, we should try to remember. Oh, so nice to hear about Prahlad and Nrsingadev and all the great devotees. Rather than remembering whatever, some jingle from some television commercial from 30 years ago. I still know that the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup, and I'll probably never forget it. Why is it that that's what I remember? Because of Shravanam, hearing it. Because I sat in front of the one-eyed guru for so long, just listening to all these television commercials as a kid. My little kids, they know mantras. Little Radha, she recites Prabhupada Pranam mantra. I never even taught her, but she just hears us chanting it all the time. And so one time I was offering bhoga to the Lord. I'm ringing the bell, and she just comes up and she starts chanting Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, like perfect pronunciation. I don't know where she got it from. I never taught her. Because that's what she heard. But what did I hear as a kid? Folgers. I don't even know if they make Folgers anymore. Folgers doesn't exist anymore, as far as I know. But the jingle will exist in my head forever. Probably I'll remember it in my next life. So this is the power of hearing. You'll remember for hearing about Krishna by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, then naturally we'll remember Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's name, form, qualities, and activities throughout the day. I remember one time I wanted to make a test of this when I was a new bhakta in the halfway house ashram, the working men's ashram in New Zealand before I was a brahmachari. It was an ashram for men, for young men who were, still at work or school or something, and I was still in a type of school at that time. But we did the morning program, and we were talking about smaranam, remembering, and I thought today I'm just going to remember Krishna all day. I'm not going to forget Krishna for the whole day. So I was like trying really hard. I did the morning program, I attended my rounds, then I was taking the bus to school, and I'm like just thinking about Krishna's pastimes, just thinking of all the names of Krishna. I was like, had my eyebrows all furrowed, probably the whole day I looked like this, just like, just don't forget Krishna, always remember Krishna. And I actually did it somehow through the whole day. I went through school. I don't know if I learned anything from school that day, but it's just always trying to remember everything that I heard from different pastimes and all the devotees were talking about. So you can actually do it. You can actually just remember Krishna all day. I don't think I've done it since, but at least that one day I proved that it is possible to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Smartavya vitatam Vishnu vismartavya najatu chit sarvavidi niseda sur etayore vikinkara. Prahlad Maharaj says, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. All of the other rules and regulations of the scriptures just serve these two principles. That's the whole point. So I have proved to myself, and I'm testifying to you devotees, it is possible. I've done it at least once. You can just remember Krishna and never forget Krishna for a whole day. You should try it. The problem is you might not be as productive. And that's why we're not taught this sort of stuff in school. But it is possible to just remember Krishna all day. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. I guess I'm not supposed to go through all 9 of them because the purport is very long and all the other devotees are going to be speaking about the 9 processes of devotional service. But this is what it really comes down to. This is the science. It's actually very simple, but it's profound, and we should apply it with confidence. I guess before I finish, maybe there was one point I wanted to bring up in the purport, but now I can't remember what it was. Prabhupada said quite a few things here. Um, hold on. Oh yeah, just the part where Prabhupada is saying here, and he added into the translation of the verse that bhakti means unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not anyone else. And that might sound like obvious to us. It seems kind of strange to say. But there are, of course, some people, the sentimentalists and the New Age types who like to hear about bhakti, who like to hear about devotional service and like to hear about Vrindavan Bhava, but then assume that, well, bhakti can just be for anyone, just do bhakti for my dog or whatever, my cat, or just any random person that I choose. No, that's not bhakti. I mean, we can have some affection and some love even for living entities in this world, and we should, seeing them all as parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But there is one unique relationship between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is bhakti. That is devotion. Because nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam yovidadati kamam. There are many eternal living entities. All of us are eternal living entities. It's kind of a problem, actually. But of those eternal living entities, there is one supreme eternal living entity. And Chaitanas Chaitananam. There are many conscious entities, but there is one supreme conscious entity. And what's the difference? We're not just saying this dogmatically. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. One supplies all of the kama, or the satisfaction or the pleasure, to all the others. That part we should recognize. I cannot produce my own pleasure, my own happiness. I can't just manifest it myself. I got to go outside of myself and find some other person or something to get pleasure. The Lord does not. He provides the pleasure for everyone in the form of this material energy, in the form of the other living entities, but ultimately in his own self. And so that relationship with that supreme origin of pleasure, Rama, is unique. And that's why it's called bhakti. So it doesn't mean that we should not have love for other living entities, have affectionate relationships. Bhakti is all about relationships, but we should recognize that there is one unique relationship. As I've mentioned so many times, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that that same feeling of devotion towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when expressed towards the living entities, is called daya, or compassion. So it is different. Bhakti means the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Towards all the living entities, we have compassion, we have affection, we have love. But bhakti, devotion, is meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unconditional, uninhibited, unalloyed love. If we cultivate that relationship first and foremost, then our relationship with all the other living entities improves by default, like a rising tide lifts all boats. As Gurudev would say, as Holiness Devamrita Swami would say, this is the bhakti advantage. If we first cultivate a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all of our other relationships improve. And many of us have that experience, actually. Some of us even thought, if I become a devotee, maybe my relationships with other people will be inhibited or prohibited or checked. No, actually, all of my relationships improved, even with those who are not similarly inclined towards devotion. So that's the bhakti advantage. So we should understand. Bhakti means engagement in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not of anyone else. There's a reason why Srila Prabhupada put that in the purport and in the translation. And we should understand that reason. Hare Krishna. There's so much more in these in this purport and in this whole verse. It's just, we could talk about this one verse forever and ever and ever. But time and tide wait for no man, and we got to wrap up at some point. So I'll ask if there are any questions or comments or challenges or retorts. Oh, Parmeshwari is taking advantage of actually having her camera on, and so she cannot be ignored. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for such an enlivening class. So many good points. Yeah. I have a questions about a purport where Srila Prabhupada said one should not be like the karmas who perform pious activities and then formally offer the result to Krishna. That is karma kanda. One should not aspire for the results of his pious activities, but should dedicate oneself fully and then act piously. So I think earlier, Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that like we should surrender our body and mind and work to Krishna first, and then act based on that surrender. So that sounds like that's bhakti yoga. But then here, I think I'm confused about the point that Srila Prabhupada said that this is karma kanda, because it sounds like in Bhagavad Gita, karma yoga is to, do things and then offer the result to Krishna. So why is here Srila Prabhupada said it is karma kanda and not karma yoga? I'm confused about this point.
Thank you for asking. It really comes down to the intention. One who performs karma kanda, they have some desire in mind. Like, some pious person. I always give this example. And they might be great devotees now, but one time I was the pujari in Melbourne, Australia. I was just visiting there, but they put me on the altar immediately. And, some pious man came in. He said, "Oh, Prabhuji," I think he called me Swamiji because I had saffron on. "Swamiji, I bought this new car. You please take the key and place the key at the lotus feet of Radha Madhava. Hare Krishna. I want to offer the car to Krishna." I said, "Well, if you want to offer the car to Krishna, how about you just give it to us, to the temple, and we'll use it for so many wonderful services for Krishna." He said, "No, no, no, Prabhuji, just take this ghee and place it at the lotus feet of Radha Madhava. So one has a desire. I want this car. It's for me. It's for my enjoyment. But I know that I should offer something to the Lord by some pious activity, by some ritual. So that's karma kanda. I have a desire, but out of piety, I'll offer something to the Lord. You might do some fire sacrifice, for example, for a marriage, or a fire sacrifice to create some auspiciousness, or to bless some home or something. And as part of it, so you have a result in mind, the marriage, the auspiciousness, the home. But as part of the sacrifice, you make offerings to the Lord. So that's karma kanda. It's not that the direct intention is to serve the Lord. The direct intention is that I want some beneficial result. That's what Prabhupada's saying. The word adha in this verse means directly serving the Lord. Tan manye aditam uttamam. So devotion means I want to please the Lord first. That's the goal. And if there's some other benefit, so be it. So karma yoga is a little bit different from karma kanda. Karma yoga is I want to please the Lord, but I have attachment to this particular activity. Or maybe I'm good at this. In the case of Arjuna, I mean, he's pretty good at what he does, killing people. He's a very good warrior. So karma yoga would be, well, let me offer that to Krishna. I mean, I'm good at it. I'm already in the zone. Let me offer that to Krishna. That's karma yoga. Karma kanda is, I have this desire, and as a matter of circumstance, I recognize that part of that ritual should be to offer something. You get the idea, the difference?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's really clear. Thanks.
So Prabhupada's saying here, Tan manye aditam uttamam adha. Oh no, that's not the one. Oh yeah. Kriyeta bhagavatyada. That the best is should be performed directly for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not some sort of materialistic desire. That's mixed devotion. And it's okay if we have mixed devotion. Let's not beat ourselves up. We're making progress. We're going to get there. Have faith in Srila Prabhupada's program. We're going to become pure devotees one way or another. Krishna's going to find us. He's going to get you, get you, get you.
I have a follow-up comments. I'm wondering whether, our parents helping us indirectly, kind of like giving us things and giving us money, that probably like karma kanda, right? They're not doing this purposely to please Krishna, but kind of also they still being engaged in that sense. Or some people coming to the center, giving us money, and but then they're not practicing. Would they be categorized in that karma
It
kanda?
might be karma kanda, but it's probably what we call agyata sukriti. If your parents give you some money and you use some of that in Krishna's service,
Albo,
then they get.
please, somebody is chanting and we can't hear the question properly. Can the person reduce the chanting or something?
Mataji's question was, if parents give some money to a devotee or somebody else gives some money, is that also karma kanda? And I would argue that unless they know this is going to be given to Krishna, it's not karma kanda or karma yoga. It's probably agyata sukriti, which is when someone does something, some pious activity, or really some devotional activity, even if they don't know it. They might have done something for a devotee or for Krishna directly, but they're not even like conscious of it. And so they get a lot of benefit from that, but obviously not as much as if they were directly engaged in the service of the Lord and saying, this is for Krishna. So some forms of agyata sukriti, for example, is giving prasadam to someone. We should actually tell people that this has been offered to the Lord and it's devotional service to eat this prasadam. So sometimes I try to remember, and I say that on a Thursday, right? That this is special food. If someone eats prasadam, they don't know that it's offered to Krishna. They don't know anything about that. They just think it's just another meal. Then that's agyata sukriti. Just still beneficial. But obviously, the more that we're directly conscious of the Lord, the better it is. That's kind of the whole idea. There's a big spectrum of engagement and service to the Lord. And I think probably at the bottom end of that spectrum is agyata sukriti. You do some service, but you don't even know it. I wouldn't recommend telling your parents that you're going to take their money and use it for Krishna. They might not give you any more money. Hare Krishna. It's already past 8 o'clock, so maybe we need to finish unless there's any other burning comments or questions. I know I didn't give Tarika Prabhu much time to add. There's a lot to say, but time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Oh, Haribol, Hari Chakra Prabhu. So nice to see you here this morning.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Yasudev. As always, you always give such a wonderful I mean, explanation about the bhakti process. So thank you very much. A little comment about the question Parameshwara was asking. So basically, it's like if you tell someone, "I'm going to cook for you. I'm going to cook for you. Are you hungry, Prabhu? I want to cook for you." And so you go in and you start cooking, but during the course of the cooking, maybe you get yourself injured. The knife cuts your hand. And so if the person that you say you're going to cook for sees how you've been hurt whilst you are cooking for him, how do you think the person will feel? But the same thing, the same cooking, you can tell the person, "Oh no, I'm very hungry and I'm going to cook. I want to go and cook and eat." And then you go and you start cooking, and during the course of cooking, you hurt yourself. The knife cuts you. On this second aspect too, how do you think the person will feel towards you? You see, both situation you are cooking the same meal, but because the first one you were going to specially cook for the person, then when something happens to you in the course of the cooking, then the person will feel the pain that you're feeling, and the person will try to do everything in his power to rectify the situation. No, this person is going to cook for me, and look at what has happened to the person. But the second aspect, if the person is somewhat like a very bit compassionate, he may also feel the pain, but the pain he will not feel as the one that you were going to cook for him. So this shows the difference between doing some service for the Lord and doing some service for yourself. Because if you are cooking for the Lord, and in the course of cooking for the Lord something happens, then the Lord takes the karma out of it, because the Lord feels your pain. But if you are cooking for yourself and then something happens to you, then you take the suffering all by yourself. So like the explanation that you gave to her about the difference between karma kanda and then devotional service or karma yoga is that one of them, the object of service is going directly to the Lord, and the other one, the object of service is going, the purpose of service is going to yourself. Even though you might want to give some results to the Lord, but because you are putting yourself at the center of the activity, then that is purely kamakanda. But the one you put the Lord at the center of the activity, that is for the Lord, you are doing everything. All your consciousness was based on the Lord. That is completely different. That is not, is devoid of kamakanda. That is the little, what do we call it? Contribution I wanted to give.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Hari Chakra.
Boo. I just want to say thank you, Boo, for sharing.
Thank you, Hari Chakra Prabhu. Always appreciate your insights and your analogies and your stories. Helps us to understand profound spiritual truths. Okay, I think we should finish there. Many of us have a busy day. So thank you, dear devotees, for tuning in to Srimad Bhagavatam class. And may you all attain pure devotional service in this lifetime and always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna all day today. Grantaraj Srimad Bhag. Oh, is Ajamil Prabhu back? Have you returned from the spiritual dimension, Ajamil Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for such a wonderful class today. I really appreciate.
Thank you, Prabhu, for tuning in. Thank you for coming back from Vrindavan. We thought you might stay there forever.
There was a thought for a second. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.